Ah, yes. Horror games. Now is the perfect time for a smaller creator like me to talk about this subject. In October, when every other creator on the platform is doing the exact same thing. Okay, jokes aside, I actually started writing this in February of 2021. Maybe even earlier. That's the earliest version of the paperwork I can find. What can I say? I put a lot of work into my writing. So hitting that like button, good night. Can't even do that as a joke. So that's why I started this video. Anyway, welcome to a video about horror games, where we're talking about a few things. Mainly, what makes a good horror game? What doesn't? Why do I think horror games are being on a downward spiral? Do jump scares improve or damage the overall game? How did a certain pizza-themed horror game change horror forever? And what would my perfect horror game look like? Also, off script for a minute. Yeah, legitimately. This video was originally 4,000 words long. And it's 19,843 words right now. And 106,000 characters for anyone just interested. Get ready for a ride. This is going to be a long video. Or rather, long series of videos. So, despite what I just said about horror games being on a downward spiral, I love horror games. And not just horror games either. I just love horror in general. Horror games, horror movies, horror stories, horror events. I just love it all, man. I love horror. Sadly, whether it's games, films, or stories, most horror I've experienced feels samey, oversaturated, and awfully familiar, relying on the same tropes, mechanics, and plot points. However, when that once-in-a-blue-moon horror does come out that gets my heart racing, oh boy, do I get excited. Oh, I love those games. To list a few, Alien Isolation, Outlast 1, Soma, Subnautica, Spooky's House of Jump Scares, or Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion, or whatever it's called now, and I mean, Visage had potential. There's gotta be more than that, right? Let me check my Steam library real quick. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's really all of them. Really? That can't be all of them. Okay, right. Maybe if I search best horror games in Google. Let's see. Until Dawn. Yeah, okay, great game, but not scary horror. It's a beautifully looking game, but yeah, not horror. But it could have been because I very early figured out we were dealing with Wendigos, and I know how to deal with those, so the mystery is kind of gone. Dead Space. I think people were just overreacting in their game videos because that's what got views back then. However, I definitely believe it has an amazing mechanic that momentarily freaks the player out. Even so, I don't think it's scary, despite how much the game did get right. Resident Evil. Nah. I mean, they're good games. I enjoy them, but they're not scary horror games. They're just, I don't know, they're just not to me. Amnesia. Yeah, I admit, yeah, that was a scary game, but I got to it years after it was popular, so I kind of already knew everything about it and all the stories, so I can't really judge that one. Little Nightmares. You know, amazingly beautiful game. Seriously, one of the most beautiful games I've seen in a long time, but not scary. It's beautiful, but it's not scary. BioShock. Once again, amazing game, but not scary horror. More reflection of society horror. The Mortuary Assistant. That's actually a new game that's already on the list. I haven't actually played this one. I've heard good things about it though, so I'll be right back. Gonna go play it. Okay, cool mechanics. Looked kind of good. Interesting premise for sure, but I don't see what all the hype was about. That didn't. I mean, I don't know. It didn't really freak me out. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm desensitized or something. As I said, the horror games that really leave an impact on me are only one in a blue moon and come along once in a while. I still think these games were great, but they weren't horror-y or scary to me. Or at least, they didn't hit that horror mark that appeals to me, which is completely fine, and something I think a lot of people forget. Just because a game, movie, TV show, or whatever medium didn't tickle your boxes, doesn't mean it was bad. It just means you probably want the target demographic. Okay, how about instead talking about the games I didn't find scary or horror-like, I talk more about the games I did find scary, why, and what horror tropes I really like and really freak me out. So, what tropes do I love in horror? 1. Mannequins, dolls, or statues. That's my number one horror. I love it. I hate it, but I love it. 2. Children. 3. The proper use of audio. 4. The concept of a bigger world. 5. Unknown horror. 6. Subtle, easy to miss scares. And 7. Horror that affects you in the real world. But why do I love these tropes? Well, as I just said about mannequins, I just love them, dude. They're my favorite horror. I don't know why. There's something about mannequins, dolls, and statues that just freak me out. I don't actually know why they freak me out so much, but they do, and I love it. I think it's because they're so human in a way. Or maybe it's the fact that how subtly they can move and leave such an effect. Maybe it's that one doll, statue, or mannequin that moves just once in the game. Just one mannequin. But because you see that one mannequin, doll, or statue move, it means any doll, statue, or mannequin in the game could be a threat, and any single one of them could move at any time. So as you approach them, you slowly slow down, you walk past them, make sure to have a line of sight on them at all time, and just check them out as you walk past. 2. Children. Now, when it comes to horror games, the vast majority of us feel absolutely nothing towards killing dozens, if not hundreds of adults. Think about it, think how many horror games, how many innocent people, maybe not innocent, but think about how many people you've killed in horror games. Whether they're zombies, infected, mind-controlled, or just hostiles, they're still humans. You've killed hundreds of them. However, the second the game places a child in front of you, you, as the player, have to be aware that you're about to kill a child. Reiterate, you, as the player, are about to kill a child. And that probably just got this video demonetized. Granted, it's probably a sophisticated, sociopathic. Sophisticated is a completely different thing. It's probably a sociopathic, homicidal, mutated, demonic, zombie-possessed serial killer with no sense of remorse or empathy. But it's still a child. And you as the player have to kill that creature that was once a child before whatever happened. And somehow that just triggers something in the human brain. I don't know. There's a maternal instinct there probably, but yeah, something about kids in games just freak me out because I'm probably gonna have to fight them. You see a kid in the game, you're just like, okay, guess we're doing this now. Oh no. Kids are also just much smaller than adults and can hide in so many smaller spots. If you walk into a room, chances are you're gonna see any adult-sized enemy. But if you're fighting children enemies, suddenly when you walk into a room, you have no idea how many threats there are. They come in the cupboard, under the table, behind that chair, just anywhere. And you just have no idea. On top of that, they just sound creepy. Having an adult laugh is freaky, sure. Like, you're playing a game, you see it, You're like, okay, that was creepy. Moving on. But hearing a child's laughter is just so much creepier. Just walking around the room and say, what the hell was that? Okay, that wasn't a child's laugh, that's more sociopathic man-child, I guess. But you know what I mean, like, I've got too deep of a voice to do child laughter. But talking about laughter and audio, 3. The proper use of audio. I go into this a lot more later, so I'll just very quickly summarize to say, the proper use of audio can either break or make a horror game and its immersion. 4. The concept of a bigger world. Once again, I go into this more later, but I love horror, where it feels like the story is happening and the player just so happened to step into it at a random point, as opposed to everything revolving around the player because the player is the chosen one, or whatever. Half-Life, Outlast, and Bioshock are great examples of these sort of worlds. The game happened before you began. I mean, granted, Half-Life you do trigger the event, but as revealed by the end of the game, that the experience will happen before the game, it's just you were the catalyst that brought them to Earth. Point being, the game happened before you began, and you just simply stepped into the middle of it, and then you had to deal with it. You didn't cause the... maybe not. I don't know, you were just a pawn in the game pretty much. You weren't the king, you were a pawn. So, moving on. 5. Unknown horror. Again, more on this later, but it's the horror where you don't have all the information and never do, leaving it up to the player to come to their own conclusions as to the full story. 6. Subtle, easy to miss scares. Guess what? I talk more about this later too, but this is the horror where if you're not paying attention, you may just miss it. There's no loud sounds or events to draw your eye to it before it happens. It's just there, and if you miss it, you miss it. The doll who's always looking at you, the shadow that crosses your window, the door that wasn't ajar when you walked past, now looking back is. This is what I mean by subtle horror. It's the little things that really elevate the game. And 7. Horror that affects you in the real world. Now, maybe this one's dumb and I'm the only one that really thinks this way, but I love, and to an extent hate, horror games that leave enough of an impact on you that affects your real world life. Such as choosing to get soaked in the rain instead of using an umbrella because the monster-like umbrella creature that mimics umbrellas only to slam shut on the head, eating the victim and their brain. Or using the stairs because you didn't want to get into an elevator because the giant spider living in the shaft that would pull unsuspecting victim with nowhere to run up through the hatch to be devoured. Or taking an extra 5 minutes to walk home instead of using the half-lit underpath in case someone jumps out at me. Or just refusing to look in a mirror for a week after playing a game, just in case the demon actually did escape the game and was right behind me. Walking away from your computer only to realise it's gone dark while you were playing and none of the lights in your house are on. So you just close your bedroom door, lock it, and just stay there because nothing get in. Unless it snuck in while you were looking at your computer screen and now it's right behind you. I wouldn't look behind you if I were you. Yeah, I know they're stupid, but I don't know. But yeah, stuff like that. As for actual games, some of my favourite games are Alien Isolation, Outlast 1, Soma, Subnautica, and Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion. But why? Well, individually, Alien Isolation keeps you always feeling uneasy, Outlast because it's such a simple, mostly possible situation, Soma because it's the horror of your actions you have to take, Subnautica because the alien monsters, and Spooky's House of Jumpscares because, you know, it just holds a special place in my heart, really. Like, that game means a lot to me. It was the first game I played on my gaming channel, and it has a special place in my heart. That's all there is. I think it's a great game, it's just, I've got rose-tinted glasses when I look at it. However, an overarching reason I love all these games is because all these games have at least 3 things in common. You're vulnerable, you're isolated, and once you're in this situation, your character makes the smart decision, which is one of the biggest requirements of horror games for me, which is why I'm going to be going more in depth in the next part of this series. If you do enjoy this, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all my latest content. If you enjoyed this video, hitting the like is sincerely appreciated because it means it'll help the channel grow, and if you think your friends are going to enjoy this, give it a share. And hey, if you want to help appease the algorithm even more, leave a comment below saying, what do you like in horror? That's an interesting topic. Let's compare notes. As always, thanks for watching. Look forward to the next video coming soon, where we'll be discussing the 5 main factors I believe every horror game should include to make them truly scary and with lasting effect. And if the video is live right now, you can actually hit that button right there to watch it. Thanks for watching. Bye.